Many years ago, while I was in the Navy, the boat I was on, that's tilted. Yeah. The boat I was on was in Scotland, so we were in Scotland. And I don't know if you've ever been to Scotland, but weather-wise, it's pretty miserable there. It makes Syracuse sort of seem like Southern California in comparison. It's very gray, it rains sideways. It's not such a great place. In fact, one time we were in Glasgow, and we went into the tourist center, and they had a little brochure. This was like back in the 80s or 90s. And they had a little, like a trifold tourist brochure. And it was talking about how good the weather in Glasgow was compared to Moscow, because they're on the same latitude. And they had a chart on the back about how sunny it was in Glasgow. And they had, in each chart, for each month, they had how many hours of sunshine they had in Glasgow per month. Hours per month of sunshine. That's how little sunshine there was. And for the most part, we worked very long, busy days. We mostly worked like 12 hours a day. We rarely ever got out. We rarely had enough energy to really do much of anything, getting the boat ready to go back out to sea. But one time, I remember this, we had a day off. And they had a bus trip. You could take a bus trip to Edinburgh, which is on the other side of Scotland. We were on the west side, Edinburgh was on the east side. So we took this bus trip across Scotland to go to Edinburgh. I don't know if you've ever been to Edinburgh, but basically there's a castle like right in the center of the city at the top of this big hill. And there's like a road that goes up to it. But at the bottom of the hill where the castle is, there's this park. It's really, really nice park. And the day we were there was the most glorious, beautiful day you could possibly imagine. It was sunny, not a cloud in the sky. It was like 75 degrees. It was springtime. It was like late May, early June. I don't remember exactly, but somewhere in there. And it was just the most amazing day. And I was kind of on my own. I don't remember if my friends were doing something else or whatever, but I remember I was on my own. And I was in the park, and there was like a little farmer's market, and I bought like a pint of fresh strawberries, like fresh picked strawberries that were just delicious. And I went into like a little shop, and I bought like a Cadbury chocolate bar, because they only sell good chocolate in Europe. So I had a Cadbury's chocolate bar, and I had this pint of fresh strawberries, and I sat in the grass, and I had a book that I was reading, and I ate my strawberries and pieces of chocolate, and it was divine. It was the most magical day that I've ever had. If you ask me what was like my favorite day ever, it would be that day. Don't tell my wife, but it would be that day. It was just amazing. Just amazing. But at the end of the day, I had to get back on the bus, and I had to go back to the boat and, to the regular schedule, and pretty soon we were out to sea again. Right? So as magical and amazing as that day was, I couldn't preserve it. I couldn't live forever in that day. Right? I had to go back to everyday life. And probably most of us have had experiences like this, right? Where you have like an amazing experience or a great day, like on vacation. You go somewhere on vacation and it's just perfect. It's like, man, I would love to live here forever, right? And you go on the Zillow or the Realtor.com, like, how much do houses cost here? Right? And you're like, oh, I can't actually afford to live here, so you forget it. Right? In fact, that's actually happened to me too during COVID. We were, locked into our house, and it was a difficult time. And then the summertime, we just have to get out. We just have to go somewhere. And so we drove up to Lake Ontario because, we had to be somewhere close. So I drove up to Lake Ontario, and it was a beautiful day. It was sunny, and there's little boats sailing out on the lake, the sailboats, and the sun was shining down, and it was great. And so we did exactly that thing. Geez, what do houses cost here? And it turns out we could afford it. Oh, we went out again. And we bought one. So we bought a house up by Lake Ontario in Sackett's Harbor. And partly because it was just like this magical day and we wanted to buy a house, but also because I live in a house that's owned by the church. And so when I retire, I become homeless. And so we thought it would probably be good to have somewhere to go. So that is kind of reassuring. But here's the thing about, it was a wonderful day. A beautiful day, and we bought this house so that we could be up there. And you know what? It's never been like that again. And the truth is it's really just a lot more work, right? If any of you have ever owned a camp, you do all your yard work at home, and then you go away, and you do more yard work. Right? All I do is I shovel and mow grass. I drive up north, and I do housework. I could just stay home and do this. But anyway, occasionally it's really nice to have that place to get away to. But you can't perpetuate perfection like that, right? When you have these glorious moments, it just doesn't last, right? Which is exactly what's happening in this story today about the Transfiguration, of course, where Jesus takes some of his disciples, Peter and James and John, and they go up on the mountaintop. And it's glorious. It's literally divine, right? The glory of God's light shines down upon them, and they have a preview of who Christ really is, not just this person that they've come to know, but the Son of God, and he's there with Moses and Elijah. And Peter, just like looking at a house on Zillow on your phone, is like, gosh, we could just stay here forever. Let's buy a house, or in this case, build a house. And we could just stay up here on this mountaintop in this glory forever. But just like us, they can't stay in that moment. And Jesus can't stay in that moment because he still has things he has to do. They have to come down from that mountain. They have to go to Jerusalem, right? And the visit to Jerusalem starts out really well. They got the hosannas and the palms, and it's all great, but it doesn't end well, right? It ends with the crucifixion of Jesus. And we're getting ready to go into Lent, and we're going to really sort of go into experiencing what it is to come down from the mountaintop. But they go through that experience, and of course at the end of that experience is the resurrection. But the thing is that for us in our lives of faith, each of us may have had some experience that was like Peter and James and John, some exquisite moment when we felt in the presence of God as though Jesus maybe sat next to us and put his arm around us, when we have known God's love, when we have just been transported out of our everyday lives and into the realms of glory. I hope all of us have had at least one experience like that in our lives. But we know that we don't stay that way, right? We come to church every week, and it's not always edifying. It's not always being lifted up, right? Sometimes you come to church and, I don't know, not here, of course, but, those songs just aren't, doing it for you. They're hard to sing or whatever, because they use the hymnal 1982, and it's mostly terrible. And it's true. And, sometimes, the sermons aren't very good. I know that does happen here. Just sometimes it doesn't move us for whatever reason, or there's something we're distracted. Oh, I'm back again. Or we're something that distracts us, or whatever, right? That every moment we spend together in worship is not an emotional high. And I'm reminded of a young woman who used to come to church in West Virginia when I was the priest there, and she came for a little while, and she kind of disappeared for a little while. And then she kind of came back, and I said, we've missed you. Is everything all right? She said, well, I wasn't feeling church. That I totally get. But she was like, and sometimes I just don't really know why I'm here. I said, well, why did you come and stay in the first place? And she was like, I felt really lost. And I came to church, and I felt that experience, right? Every week was lifting me up, and I felt loved and seen and accepted, and it was wonderful. So she goes, but after a while, it kind of wears off. It's just, another thing that I'm doing. So I don't know why I come. And I said, look, the truth is, it's not a mountaintop experience every week. But you never know what's happening people were there for you when you arrived and made you feel loved and accepted and heard. You know, sometimes it's your turn to offer that to someone else. And that the reason we come to church isn't just for ourselves. Right? That the reason I hope that we are a part of a community of faith isn't just what we get out of it, but what we offer others as well. Right? Jesus did not come to save you. Jesus came to save us. And that's a huge difference. This isn't a self-help program. This isn't about you becoming a better person. It's about us working together to build the kingdom of God. That we come together in community so that we can be held accountable to one another, and so that we can be there to support one another and lift one another. That when we feel down, someone else can bring us up. And sometimes when we feel up, we can bring others along with us. That Christianity is not something that you can do by yourself, but it is something that can only be done in the company of others. That the greatest thing that Jesus gave us when he ascended to be with the Father wasn't a set of writings or instructions or any of that. The only thing that Jesus left behind was a group of friends, a community of people who had been through so much together and were there for one another. And the only command that Jesus really gave them was, go out and make new friends. Go out and grow this circle, this community of faith into something that everyone has the opportunity to be a part of, so that everyone can experience what you have experienced, that love of God. That's what we're here for. It's to be here for one another. William Temple, who was the Archbishop of Canterbury back in the 1940s during World War II, said the church is the only organization that has ever existed for the benefit of people who are not yet its members. I think that's really an important point. That we are here for those who are not here yet. Right? And every week we celebrate the liturgy, and the Latin meaning of liturgy is a public work done at private expense. That the liturgy in ancient Rome was like a rich guy building a road. But for us, liturgy is about coming together in order that we might be strengthened for the work that we are called to do outside of here. That we worship not just so that we can be lifted up, and not just so that we can feel good, but so that the world can be changed through us. That is our call as a people, as a community. That in this place, in this time, we are those who have heard the call of Jesus and gathered together to make a difference in the world around us. And we do. We do make differences in the world around us as a community. And it's not just for our own benefit, but especially for the benefit of those who are not here in our seats today. So I would urge all of us as we are entering into this season of Lent, to this time when we're coming down from the mountain, to hold fast to those moments and experiences when we felt at the top of the mountain. And to remain steadfast in our commitment and our faith, so that through us, the world might look more like that mountaintop than the deep valley. That all of the world might know the love of God.